resale cost, other holding costs, opportunity, what's your time worth, your ROI, out-of-pocket expenses. What's your time worth is a big one too, right? Is that house even worth your time? Is the wholesale worth your time? Is the property, is all that worth your time? Okay? So, if you don't know the numbers, if the numbers do not work, move on. Sometimes that means you have to cut your losses. If you're in the middle of a house, like we had a house, that house with the toilet that hit the seat, right? Or sorry, the door that hit the toilet, I didn't make any money on that house, right? I didn't lose any money either, because we had to cut our losses and just put it all in there. I actually gave all the money back to the investor that invested with me because of all the stuff that happened on that property. So I cut my losses because it was the right thing to do, and we just got the house done and got it gone, right? That happens. I can say I've never lost money on a house, but I've never made money on a house too. Okay? Now, let's go back to Inglewood. We have all these details. We don't know if we have the right numbers we don't have the right decision to make yet. So we have to do our own due diligence. So we go walk the house. We look through it. We bring out, for us, if you don't know your own rehab, then you bring out contractors or you figure that out, right? Maybe you don't buy a house in 24 hours, right? Maybe you take a few more days, get an inspection period, right? If you can do that. Bring contractors out, bring people you trust, figure out your rehab numbers, get a realistic plan, and if you really don't know it, I'll give you one hint, right? If you see a 3,000 square foot home and somebody tells you the rehab's 40 grand, right? They're probably not true at all, right? So, because if you think about cost per square foot for rehab, this is not a science at all. This is a very, very, very loose way to analyze rehab. Have you guys heard this before? How to analyze rehab price per square footage? We never do it, but if I'm just glancing at a house, I might quickly run that number real quick, right? Just to see if I should keep looking at it. All it is that you take the square footage of the house and divide it into the amount of rehab that's being proposed. If it's a $100,000 rehab in a 1,000 square foot house, they're saying that rehab's $100 a square foot. You can build a house for that somewhere, not in Washington. So does that make sense to you guys? If you take the cost of rehab and divide it into the square footage, that gives you the cost per square foot to rehab a house. It's a very quick, dirty way to calculate rehab, right? So if somebody's presenting you, if you look at a house that's a gut, tear down house, and it's $15 a square foot for rehab, right? Then don't ever deal with that wholesale investor realtor again, right? They don't know.
I'm going to say something to that point. A lot of you guys listen to gurus across the country or whatever, and when they're talking about, sometimes they're teaching, they're talking about the cost per square foot to rehab a house, completely different in every market.
Yep.
So you cannot listen to that stuff. You guys know what I'm talking about. Do not listen to your videos and your whatever else about somebody in Ohio on how much their price to rehab a house is completely different.
Or Arizona, or in the hot markets, Atlanta, it doesn't matter. We have, Washington's unique. We have, everybody can be a contractor here. You pay $350 or whatever it is, and then you get your insurance and bond and you're in DC, right? So you got to watch that. Everybody can be that. You're supposed to be that as a flipper, right? Or you used to be. That's dumb. But anyways, then you have the fact that materials are more expensive here and labor is more expensive here. And every house is old, right? A lot of these gurus flip houses in Atlanta. They flip houses in Arizona. They flip houses in Las Vegas. They flip houses in Florida. These are all typically 1980, 1990, 2000 year builds, right? All our houses, I don't know the last house I flipped that was newer than 1965. It just doesn't happen, right? This house was 1986, so I guess I lied, but that's rare, right? Most of the time, it's all old houses here, so you're going to have rehab that's very different than my insurance company flips out every time I give them a homeowner's insurance, just like they request homeowner's insurance. Because they're like, it's a 1912 home, is that historic, or is this, or whatever. You go, no, that's a house in Seattle, so what's the big deal? And because it's different here, okay?